This second video is going to focus on the internal structures of the brain. Again, if you follow along on your list, we'll go through them in order. Okay, first we have the lateral ventricles. Now you might recall that there are 4 ventricles total. The lateral ventricles would constitute the first and the second, but there really would be kind of an arbitrary numbering if we just said one side would be first and one side would be second. So as I put my probe down into this space, I'm actually going into one of the 2 lateral ventricles. The third ventricle surrounds the thalamus, and it actually goes above, in front of, and below, and that third ventricle continues the flow of cerebral spinal fluid from the lateral ventricles down through this mid-region of the brain. The fourth ventricle actually goes posteriorly through the cerebral aqueduct, and then it goes down below the cerebellum, and then it continues down through the central canal of the spinal cord. The fornix is the floor-like region of the corpus callosum. This region right here would be the fornix. The posterior choroid plexus, which is next on our list, is this region kind of membranous, kind of capillary-like tissue. Going back to the corpus callosum, we have this anterior region. It's been a little damaged in this brain, but this knee-like bend of the corpus callosum is the genu. Then we have this upper region of fibers that go along the top. That would be the body of the corpus callosum. And then this rearward portion that is kind of tucked away is the splenium. So there's 4 total regions. We have the genu, the body, the splenium, and the fornix of the corpus callosum. Next we have the pineal body, or the pineal gland, and it's tucked away here. The anterior commissure is actually a very small fiber tract that goes anterior to the thalamus. So as a landmark, I would either look for the thalamus and then look in front of it for a little white kind of fiber tract, or you can follow the curvature of the fornix and it terminates down here in that anterior commissure. Next, we're looking at the optic chiasm. If you recall, the optic tract crossed over with the other half of the brain, and in the center, that was the optic chiasm, and we can see that white fiber tract in its side view. We then have the pons. Now, if you recall, the pons was this anterior region of the spinal cord area, this being the spinal cord back here. So the pons is this region right here. The medulla oblongata is directly below the cerebellum, which is up here. You'll notice that it has white fibers in the middle for white matter and gray matter on the outside. It actually looks like a tree. It's actually called the arbor vitae, the tree of life. We have the superior colliculus, which we saw earlier. This is its side view, and this is the inferior colliculus right there. The spinal cord extends posterior to the cerebellum. The central canal is this dark region that goes through the center that continues the flow of cerebral spinal fluid as it goes from the 4th ventricle down into the spinal cord. We have the olfactory bulb, which, if you recall, was in this front region. We have the mammillary bodies, which would be down here below the thalamus. Remember that we saw them as enlargements on the outside view. This is one of those 2. They are paired. We have the thalamus, or the intermediate mass, in the middle of the brain right here. And then just below that, we would have the hypothalamus. I hope this has been helpful. Please consult your list, and good luck studying.